Welcome to Celebrating Vanessa's Law. My name is David Carmichael. I'm a development officer with PRIM, which is People's Right to Integrated Medicine. And it's my pleasure tonight to moderate this panel discussion. We're starting a bit late because we knew there were people caught in traffic, but we will finish at 9 o'clock. And for those who weren't here earlier, the washrooms are out this door, down the hall. The women's is first, and towards the freezer, you'll see the men's. Before I introduce the panelists, and what will happen is all three panelists will present, and after I introduce them, other than Terrence, who's the first presenter, the other two will go down and sit in the front row so they can watch the presentation. The process will be 3 presentations, which will take approximately an hour, possibly less. We've asked them to be around 15 minutes each. And then there'll be a Q&A. And the way the Q&A will work is we have 2 incredibly experienced women on wireless microphones, Jillian over here to my far left, and Winta. Winta will be on the far aisle. Jillian will be on this aisle. If you have a question, just put your hand up. And you will get a microphone, and we'll be going back and forth from one side to the next. But please ask one question directed at one panelist. Even though other panelists may comment, your question is to be directed at one panelist. We want to get as many questions out tonight as possible. And then we have some closing remarks. We have, and I won't tell you much about them, but 2 whistleblowers in Canada who are going to share their experiences to some extent and talk about Vanessa's Law and reflect upon tonight. Nancy Oliveri and Joanna Galtieri, they're sitting back here. And our final words for the evening will come from the founder and president of PRIM, Pat Gill, who is sitting right here in front of me. At 9 o'clock, we will finish. Out to your left, there's a foyer. There's a PRIM exhibit. You can pick up some materials. There's some cards if you want to get involved with PRIM. There's also a Safety First book, which if you're interested in purchasing, you can do for a small donation. And if you're interested in purchasing one of Terrence's book, which is called Death by Prescription, A Father Takes on His Daughter's Killer, the Multi-Billion-Dollar Pharmaceutical Industry, they're available for $20 each at the PRIM exhibit. There's only 6 books, so please don't rush out the door. You can always get more. Just leave your business card or contact information. And now our panelists. And I'll present them in the order that they're speaking tonight. To my immediate right is Terrence Young. In 2000, Terrence's 15-year-old daughter died from an adverse drug event in front of him. It was a side effect of a drug, and the man moved into a mission. And it's been a tremendous mission, one that I've certainly been following and many other people. In 2008, he became an MP because he knew something had to change with federal drug policy and legislation, and he was driving a private member's bill, which is Bill C-17. Recently, and Terrence will explain this in detail, the Federal Minister of Health, Ron Ambrose, talked with Terrence. They pushed it through Parliament. It is Bill C-17. It's gone through the House of Commons and it's been passed. It's gone through 2 Senate readings. The Senate committee had 4 days of hearings, including with the pharmaceutical industry. They've pushed it forward to a final reading, which may happen any time. And then it could become what is now going to be called Vanessa's Law, named after his daughter, Vanessa. Terrence wrote the book that I explained before he became a federal politician or as part of the process, set up Drug Safety Canada, and he has single-handedly stick-handled Bill C-17 through all 3 political parties in Canada as a Conservative MP for Oakville. He's our first speaker. Following Terrence is Blair Hamrick. When you think of the pharmaceutical industry in the United States, between 1991 and 2012, the pharmaceutical industry has been fined $30 billion for fraud and other criminal charges and civil charges. The company accountable for 25% of those penalties is GlaxoSmithKline. They are in a league of their own. The next company behind them is 9%. GlaxoSmithKline, 25% of those fines. The biggest fine in history in the world is $3 billion that GlaxoSmithKline paid in 2012. Interestingly, Blair was one of the whistleblowers, and he's going to talk about his experience from 2001 when he first filed a complaint internally as a sales representative for GlaxoSmithKline and what happened to him after that. So we have Terrence Young with a 14-year battle. We have Blair Hamrick with a 13-year battle. And Blair is going to talk. I had a sneak peek of his slide presentation yesterday, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. The final speaker is going to talk about what needs to happen to change our system. And I'm now involved with PRIM because integrative medicine is the answer. It's doctors that practice conventional medicine. They prescribe drugs, but they also look at alternative therapies. And one of the most contentious drugs on the market are prescription painkillers. And Dr. Linda Rabson, who's involved as a researcher, she's involved as a clinician, she's involved as a professor at University of Toronto, has been dealing with chronic pain for many, many years, dealing with acupuncture and other alternatives. And that will be our final presentation. We'll talk about part of the solution to the problem that I know Terence and Blair will highlight tonight. Those are your three panelists. Please welcome them to Jackman Hall.